Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Notre Dame fans, whenever you are watching or listening to this week's Notre Dame recruiting update with myself, Mike Singer, and Kyle Kelly. Kyle, how are you doing, my friend? What's new in your world, man?
Not a whole lot. Just preparing for this massive game against USC. I know Notre Dame's football season is kind of taken a little bit of a downswing over the last week, but recruiting is still in the upswing. So those kids are keeping us plenty busy ahead of this week. We're expecting a pretty massive visitor weekend in South Bend. So that's been what it's looked like here on my end of the ship, and I know things have been pretty busy on your end as well.
Yeah, I have no idea what I've even done this week. Like it's today Monday. I mean, is it Tuesday? I don't even know what day of the week it is anymore, Kyle. But this is the joys of the football season. This is what we live for. So Nick says good morning. Good morning, Nick. Hope everyone is doing well on this Thursday. If you're watching live, watching back, it always helps support our channel if you hit that thumbs up on the video, and of course subscribing so you don't miss any other Notre Dame football and recruiting videos on the channel. And of course, go to blueandgold.com. Current offer, actually offers, plural, if you want to sign up and join the blue and gold community. $1 for your first month. Or if you want to take the plunge for the entire year, you can go 50% off for your first year. And this is for new subscribers only. So please do check that out, blueandgold.com. Well, Kyle, I guess let's just dive right into it. So, when Kyle and I are like discussing topics for the show, I mean, a lot of this kind of takes care of itself. We talk about news, we talk about where we go on the road, but for kind of the opening segment, we're like, man, what's the biggest kind of thing going on right now? And obviously, it's the USC Notre Dame visit weekend, and you can find the full list at blueandgold.com. We've been covering it all week. So yeah, head to the website for that. But we wanted to talk about there's 4 recruits, maybe there's 5. Kyle, you can let me know if I missed someone. But there's 4 recruits that are actually like Notre Dame USC battles. Actually, let's say 3.5. They're like it seem to be Notre Dame USC battles. So prospects coming to South Bend who are very much considering Notre Dame, obviously, and then USC in their lead group as well. Hey, podcast audience, hope you are doing as well. Hello, audio only folks. But yeah, Kyle, let's dive into these players first. I love talking about this one, Kyle, because you think, okay, a player from a Catholic Memorial in Wisconsin, an offensive lineman, 6'7", 295 pounds. It's got to be Notre Dame, Wisconsin, right? Well, we've been hearing for a while, blue and gold, that it's really Notre Dame and USC. So, Kyle, can you tell us a little bit about this recruitment? Because you've seen him in person, you've been able to meet him. Tell us about his recruitment a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not sure there's a guy that's higher up on Notre Dame's board right now than Owen Strebig, who's trending toward 5-star status as a offensive tackle from Catholic Memorial in Wisconsin. He picked up a Notre Dame offer back in March, a few days after their Pot of Gold recruiting event, when they just throw out, it seems like, a billion offers to 2025 recruits. Owen picked up his a couple days after that. Visited Notre Dame in the spring, returned twice during the summer, was already at the Ohio State game this fall, and now he'll be back for his second Notre Dame game. So he is giving Notre Dame a super serious look. I mean, 2 visits in the summer, 2 game day visits now. I mean, that's pretty telling sign about Owen Strebig's interest in Notre Dame. But USC is right there as well. Lincoln Riley and that crew in Southern California have made a super big impression on Strebig. He was out there in the spring to visit campus. He's also going to stop by Los Angeles for, I think it's a UCLA game at the end of the year. Owen's been very strategic, I guess, with his visits this fall. He's very, very focused on his high school football season, and he's pretty much only going to night games on recruiting visits, game day visits. Ohio State was a night game. this Saturday's game against USC is a night game. USC is after his season, so that will be a nice convenient trip back to Southern California.
Yeah, so like I showed up on the screen for folks watching on YouTube, he's going to return around this time next month to USC, visit there over the summer and getting back there. Yeah, there's also Talon Taylor, the receiver from Geneva Community in Illinois. He really likes UCLA. It's just interesting seeing these kids from the Midwest really liking these LA schools. Um, just a coincidence? Is it like a want to go get to the warmer weather spots, just kind of see those places, NIL opportunities in LA? I don't know, but certainly interesting. So Owen Streebig, again, you wouldn't think this massive offensive lineman would have an unofficial top two. We're calling it a top two, right? Not him. Of Notre Dame and USC. Wisconsin, you obviously can't count out. And he obviously has a long offer list of other programs as well. How about
Mike,
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna give one more final thought on Streetbig. You
Yeah,
know,
please.
I think that we've talked about Notre Dame and USC a lot with him, but he's also been to Florida and Miami a few times, and those two schools are
Well,
looking to get him back on campus, and I know
Kyle,
he likes those two options as well.
let me ask you for your take on that. Do you think that this is a kid who maybe wants to get away from the Midwest and go play in warmer weather? Because you see the RPM. I like him for Notre Dame. I've already predicted him to the Fighting Irish.
I think Owen Streebig wants to go wherever he feels a team can win a national championship and develop him into a first round offensive lineman. So South Carolina, Miami, and Florida, they don't really fit that criteria considering they have not made the college football playoff since its inception. I think in
Right.
2014. Notre Dame's made it a couple times, but obviously hasn't looked pretty in those matchups. But Notre Dame's been in the conversation. They always are in the conversation.
Kyle, do you like
USC is looking to become in the conversation, but I think those are the two primary factors for Owen Streebig.
do you like the 12-team playoff, Kyle?
Yes and no. It's not really a great answer, but I don't like how it takes away the meaning from regular season games
Yep.
because, like, these just like example, the Red River rivalry last Saturday, which Tyler Horka, friend of the show, obviously a big contributor at Blue and Gold, his Hey Horka segment every Monday, Texas grad. That game is a massive game just because it's like whoever loses that game, like your college football playoff hopes like dwindle down significantly. And Notre Dame's got a little bit more leeway with one loss just because they're not in a conference, and of course, being in a conference sometimes hurts Notre Dame.
Yeah.
But I think that my whole thing is like I don't like the 14 playoff, but I also don't like how a 12-team playoff takes away the
Yeah.
importance of these regular season games. So I kind of lean more towards 6 teams,
Yeah.
maybe 8, but yeah, I think 12 is a little too much.
Yeah, so I'm with you, like the college football traditionalist in us, right? We don't like that, but then just from the college football fan and observer and understand like the TV revenue and all that side of things, yeah, it's pretty exciting. So I'm with you. But yeah, Kyle, let's continue to go through these guys. Damien Shanklin, another I mentioned Talon Taylor, Owen Streetbeck. Here's another Midwest kid from Warren Central and Indy, who I mean, you see on the RPM, these schools aren't to be found yet, but Notre Dame and USC. Has he been out to USC to your knowledge? But
Not yet.
not
That's not
yet.
an easy trip.
No, it's not. Is this actually his first trip to Notre Dame as well?
It is, yeah. So Notre Dame offered him in August, just a few weeks after the August contact period opened up for 2025 recruits. And even though he's right down there at Indy, his head coach, his name escapes me. I think it's Coach Kirshner, Mike Kirshner, maybe. At Warren Central, he coached a couple Notre Dame guys back in his day, and he's now at Warren Central now. So there is a connection there with Notre Dame. But yeah, this will be his first trip up to South Bend as a recruit.
Yeah. So it seems like Notre Dame's in a pretty good spot with him. We really do maybe next week need to spend some time just talking about like all the players on the 2025 D line board because I mean, they have 3 committed, and it seems like they're in, like, the lead group, if not the lead school, for, like, 5 others, and I would include Damien Shanklin in that. So 6'5", 210 pounds, looks more like a wide receiver right now, but school's liking him as an edge rusher, and that would include Notre Dame, who offered him in August, I believe, Kyle?
Yeah, he was an August offer, and just like another final thought on Damien Shanklin. This really is a USC Notre Dame battle right now, which is super interesting. Being a Midwest kid from Indianapolis, obviously, in the internet recruiting era, which is basically since 2002, when Rival, Scout.com, 24/7, all these websites on three now, of course, have emerged. In the modern recruiting era, as some refer it to. USC has only signed one player ever from Indianapolis over the
Really?
last 22 or so years. And
Hmm,
that was Marquise Stepp, a four-star
yep.
running back out of Indianapolis Cathedral. Stepp ended up transferring to Nebraska, so it's really interesting. So, yeah, you got to kind of like the odds in Notre Dame's favor for Damien Shanklin just based off that.
Yeah, yeah. So, very interesting there. So Kyle, when you're talking about these Notre Dame USC recruiting battles, you would think it's more of Notre Dame going into USC's backyard than USC going into Notre Dame's, which again, I don't know if that's like a Lincoln Riley thing or is it more Midwest prospects being interested in USC? It's interesting. But here's one where Notre Dame is going into more USC's backyard. And have we confirmed this one yet? Noah McCall from Bonita in California?
Last we heard, this one was still in the works, but I think from what you and I have heard behind the scenes, it's trending towards making this happen. Noah McHale is just trying to work through his family schedule a little bit, yeah, not 100% confirmed, but this one is trending toward happening.
Yeah. So thoughts? I want to say you've been covering this recruitment a little bit more than me. I knew he was on campus for the Clemson game last year. Um, Let me double check that.
No, that is correct because he was there for Clemson. He hung around a couple days and picked up his offer on that Sunday.
Yep. And then returned in April. So this would be trip number 3 for him. He's been to USC 6 times, most certainly at the end of July. But the we talked about the D line board is pretty crowded already. The linebacker board seems pretty wide open. They're in the lead for a few guys, though, at least in my opinion. And it's a pretty big weekend for linebacker recruiting, actually. So, Kyle, I need about 60 seconds from you on Noah McCall.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of interesting when he was there in the spring. I had a couple text messages from Notre Dame fans asking me if he was on commit watch. Like that's how much I guess observers have kind of found Noah likes Notre Dame, but he's chosen to delay his recruitment, and I don't really think a decision is going to be coming soon from him. But this is a Notre Dame USC battle as well with some of these Texas schools, as you see according to the recruiting prediction machine. Texas A&M and Texas have been really involved in this recruitment. But I know Noah and his family, they like Notre Dame a lot. I mean, 3 trips and within a year from Southern California, that's no easy one to make. So
Yeah.
if he does indeed make it to campus on Saturday, as we expect, look for Notre Dame to make another big move in his recruitment.
All right, we are going to we actually have one more player to talk about, but which is actually a really interesting one. But before we do, Kyle, do you know what time it is?
It's time to win some money, hopefully.
All right, so let's hear from Prize Picks. Um, if Mike can figure out how to use the screen. So Prize Picks is today's sponsor. This is basically how it works. So you pick 2 or more players from any sport. You pick more or less on their projected stats. You can do a flex play where you still can win if one of your picks misses, or you can just do a power play, which is higher payouts, but you must get all of your picks right. Um, all first-time users that deposit and use promo code BGI, that is super important. Use promo code BGI, you'll get 100% instant deposit match up to $100. So if you deposit $100, Prize Picks will give you $100. If you deposit 50, it will be $50. So download the app, prizepicks.com, and use that promo code BGI. It's not just for college games, folks. Prize Picks offers projections on any sports you watch: PGA, college basketball, men's basketball, women's basketball, both professionally and collegiately, NASCAR, MMA, cricket, soccer, just about anything. And please do use that promo code BGI for a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. So let's take a quick look, Kyle, at my my prize. We like to look at the winners. We don't need to worry about the losers. So I always like to throw in like a primetime game. This was a one I loved right here. It was a $10 power play, and I've had most success just on the two, just a power play of two picks. It was Garoppolo, and this was the Monday night game. Garoppolo had thrown picks in like 6 straight games or something ridiculous. So I was like, give me Garoppolo throwing a pick. It was more than 0.5. And then Jordan Love, I was like, there's no way Jordan Love's throwing 2 touchdowns. So I took the less than 1.5, and that hit. Kyle, there are a lot. I know you just sent me a message. You don't need to send me a message, Kyle. Just tell me what's on your mind, brother. There's a lot that I like. These all are, so there's 4 Notre Dame picks that you can make for this USC game. Estime, his is 87.5, the more or less. I personally would not touch that one. If I had to pick it, I would go less. Jaden Thomas, 35.5 receiving yards. I think this is a get right game for Jaden Thomas. I would take the more there. Mitchell Evans, 63.5 receiving yards is pretty tasty. I would take the more. Sam Hartman, 263.5. I wouldn't touch that one. That's a really interesting line because USC's pass defense is bad, but he hasn't hit that total in the past 3 games. Which of these would you? Because we're going to throw down on at least make one pick for Notre Dame games. One of these guys. I like Jaden Thomas the most here. What do you like?
So believe it or not, I don't think this has been discussed much among Notre Dame football coverage platforms, but also don't quote me on this, but I thought when I saw Jaden Thomas toward the end of the Louisville game, he pulled up again
You're right.
with that hamstring. So I'm not 100% certain what his availability will be on Saturday. This is just pure speculation. But if he does play, I do like him to hit that number.
Well, they might play him and trot him out there when he's hobbling, knowing what we saw last week. So, which of these do you like? Do you like Mitch Evans?
Probably Mitch Evans.
More than 63.5?
Yeah, considering Jaden Thomas's status. Once again, speculation. Yes.
All right. I honestly, my favorite's probably Hartman, but life is too short to bet the less, or to pick the less. So we're gonna go Mitchell Evans. There are some NFL picks that I really like. How about Justin Fields? The more or less is at 192.5. He threw for 282 and 335 in his last 2 outings. I like that one. And then there was passing touchdowns. I liked more than 1.5 for Kirk Cousins, who's hit that in his last 5. And Chicago doesn't have some crazy defense. I know Vikings Bears games are probably usually low scoring, but those are the ones that jumped out to me. What do you like, Kyle?
I almost like any Chiefs bet tonight because I'm sorry if there's any Broncos fans in this YouTube show in the chat, but based off all the research I've done, the Broncos defense has just been putrid this year. So,
Well, what do you want to go with?
I think Mahomes goes more than 250 yards easily, but I know that one is 269. Let's take a look at his touchdown totals because I think if they have them available, Mahomes could toss a couple
Not
touchdown
there.
passes tonight.
Yeah,
So
not
nothing
available.
tonight. Anything with Isaiah Pacheco? That's another guy I like, the former
Yeah,
Rutgers running back.
74.5 rushing yards.
That's a tricky number. If it was
Yeah,
rushing and receiving, I would like it.
we do
But
have that. Rushing, where is it? Rushing receiving yards combo. No, that's not it. Receiving yards. No, I guess it's not here. Or if I'm just missing it. Oh, there it is. Rush receiving yards, 90.5.
Gosh, that's still a big number. So maybe shy away from that one, but I think we just gotta trust Mahomes on this one. Mahomes is undefeated against the Broncos. I think he's 11-0 in his career. So that's a big number, but we're talking about one of the best quarterbacks to ever do it.
All right, so we're gonna go more and more, and we'll throw down a 20 spot on it. There we go. So there's your prize picks for this week. Use promo code BGI, and we will talk about how we probably didn't do too well on that next week. Thank you to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's show. All right, so this last USC Notre Dame battle. And again, these are all players who we expect to visit this week. I know Mikhail kind of being the one maybe. I'm going with this is kind of an interesting one because Kingston Viliamuasa is committed to Notre Dame. His top 3 schools before he committed to the Irish at the end of July: Notre Dame, Ohio State, USC. And that's the order that it seemed it finished in as well. He visited Notre Dame for the Ohio State game. Ohio State beat Notre Dame. Now he's returning for Notre Dame USC. Again, this is a kid from St. John Bosco in Bellflower, California. I'm sure there's a ton of local pressure for him to go to USC. So I just find this one pretty interesting that like he's committed to Notre Dame. I think like the word is my bond is like I put this out there like I'm sticking to this. I think that's really big with Viliamuasa and his family. Like you committed to that, we are not changing kind of thing. So this is not a super notable visit in that sense, but it's recruiting. You never know. So I just find this one interesting that Southern California kid committed to Notre Dame over USC, and returning to campus for the Notre Dame USC game. So, yeah, I think this, Notre Dame could just go out and put a good performance in and make Viliamuasa even more solid and be able to, talk a little smack to his USC friends at St. John Bosco. So that is Kingston Viliamuasa. I still think it's a notable visit, even though he's a Notre Dame commit. And there are a bunch of Notre Dame commits coming to campus this weekend. Kyle, it's always notable when the Fighting Irish offer a quarterback prospect, and they did last night. Will Griffin from Tampa Jesuit, class of 2026. So, of course, Notre Dame already has 2024 quarterback commit CJ Carr. They got a 2025 quarterback pledged in Duce Knights, who we'll talk about more in a bit. And then they're already working on 2026. I think they've offered 6 guys. So, Will Griffin, what do they feed these kids? 6'2.5", 225-pound quarterback. Offers from Florida, Florida State, Miami, Pittsburgh, obviously Notre Dame now, Ole Miss, Ohio State, Michigan, Auburn. So pretty strong offer list already. High school teammates of Notre Dame class of 2025 running back commits Justin Thurman. Griffin's someone who Notre Dame's been tracking for a while. I know they wanted to have him up on campus in June for a camp. If he wasn't able to go, it was actually the same day that Thurman went, but Griffin couldn't make it. Notre Dame very well may have offered him at that point if he made it in, but he didn't. Drops the midseason highlight tape. Kyle, I have not watched this kid's tape yet that we're about to pop up on the screen. But yeah, Notre Dame offering him. You got to love the play action on the first play under center. That bodes well for Notre Dame. But yeah, Kyle, thoughts on this offer? Notre Dame getting busy in the 2026 class at a again, a school that you have Justin Thurman committed there. You got Jesuit in the name. That always bodes well for the Irish. So thoughts on this young man?
Yeah, like you mentioned, 6 quarterbacks have already been offered in the 2026 recruiting cycle. And I think that with Notre Dame having their 24 and 25 quarterbacks locked in, with CJ Carr and Duce Knight, and obviously, teams aren't going to stop recruiting those guys, even CJ Carr, who's been committed, for well over a year now. And I can assure you those SEC schools aren't going to stop with Duce Knight. But Notre Dame can just kind of focus on Duce Knight and continue keeping him locked in with the Irish. And I know we'll probably talk a little bit more about him later we
Ooh.
don't expect him to flip at all. He is 100% locked in with Notre Dame. Is just really accepted Notre Dame for everything. But anyway, Notre Dame and Gino Guidugli can really get going on 2026 quarterback recruiting now. Like we mentioned, 6 guys have already been offered. Julian Lewis, the superstar from your neck of the woods, I think Carrollton, Georgia, has already committed to USC. So Notre Dame's options are down to 5. They hosted Noah Grubbs earlier for the Ohio State game from the Florida area. But yeah, Notre Dame going after Justin Thurman's teammate. You brought up his offer list, a super strong one so far, and just looking at his tape, definitely a guy that can push the ball downfield, which I know will really excite Notre Dame fans.
Dude, this kid does not look like a sophomore. Like I really like this kid on film. Big, like I'm interested to see like is he a true 6'2.5"? Because if he is, like, holy crap. I mean, he's built really well. Like for pushing the ball downfield, looks like this would be a good fit for Notre Dame, in my opinion. Yeah, I really like this offer, and my whole family is about 45 minutes from this kid's high school. Like that's I went to middle and high school and college in the Clearwater Tampa area. So it's like, man, I need to make it down to Tampa Jesuit, and I'm like, crap, I would have to be for a playoff game because the season's already winding down. It's just flown by so fast. Yeah, very interesting. And the offensive coordinator at Tampa Jesuit, I went to high school with his son. So yeah, a lot of ties for me down in this area. But you mentioned, and you like the whole they have Duce Knight committed. I think your point was kind of like, well, that allows them to recruit 2026 more. Is that your answer, Kyle? Yes or no? Was that kind
Like,
of your thought?
yeah, basically, Gino Caduli can give more energy and focus on 2026 quarterback recruiting since they already have their guy in
I
2025.
w- I would push back on that a little bit. I get the logic, like yes, and there's definitely some validity to that. I just think us as Notre Dame followers are just so used to Notre Dame not getting ahead in the sophomore class in high school for quarterback recruiting because that just wasn't what Tommy Rees and Brian Kelly did. But this is what most schools do. Like if you have your 25 quarterback or not, you get in early on the 26 quarterback. So if Notre Dame didn't have Duce Knight committed, I still think they're doing exactly what they're doing in 2026. So again, I like your point, Kyle, and it's fair, but I just think that this is Gino Guidugli, Marcus Freeman recruiting. Like it's going to be aggressive and getting after guys early because I mean the amount of stories that we can tell on like Notre Dame like being late in some of these quarterback recruiting. So yeah, I really like this offer. He looks really good. Man, some of these strikes down the field as a sophomore in high school. This kid looks to be the real deal at Tampa Jesuit. That's again, I think that's got to bode well for Notre Dame. So that's Will Griffin, 6'2.5", 225 pounds. New offer from Notre Dame that was extended Wednesday night. Matt says, did I see Elijah Rushing open up his recruitment? 5-star from edge rusher from Arizona. He did. Any chance the Irish start recruiting him again? I reported on this at blueandgold.com the other night. The short answer is yes, but good luck to them. So, yep. Nick says, what do you guys think about Angeli taking over the reins next year? We will see. In my opinion, it's Angeli or they bring in a transfer. But I would probably lean towards thinking they'll do the latter, but we will see. Hope everyone is doing well. If you are watching live, watching back, hit the thumbs up on this video. Of course, subscribe to our channel for more content. And blueandgold.com is your home for all things Notre Dame Fighting Irish football and recruiting coverage. So please check out the websites if you are new. Let's hear from another sponsor before we move on with today's show, and that's My Perfect Franchise. If you're a displaced corporate executive, maybe you're wanting to put your career in your own hands, or are you an experienced entrepreneur wanting to diversify? Well, Andy Ludicky can help you out. He's a huge college sports fan. and franchise veteran, having owned multiple franchises and businesses. Using Andy's expertise, he helps others find their American dream through a very thorough consultation and evaluation process. Give Andy a call. Put your life and career in your own hands. Andy's number is 404-973-9901. Best of all, his services are 100% free to use. So what do you have to lose? Find your perfect franchise at myperfectfranchise.net. All right, moving along. What do we have, Kyle? Okay, so now we're kind of getting into the part of the show where we're talking about players that we saw on the road recently. So in mid-September, so a month ago, and at the end of the month, I made trips out to Charlotte, and your boy's been struggling in putting together the clips, but I got it done this morning before the show. This is literally all I've been doing before the show started. I was just editing footage. So I have 4 clips to show. And I was thinking maybe I should save one for next week. No, we're not getting behind the 8 ball again. We're going to stay on this, Kyle. So you can chill out for a little bit and I'm just going to talk here, okay? So, first of all, we've got Jack Larson, Notre Dame's class of 2024 tight end commit. Again, this was mid-September footage. I believe it was 6 catches, about 96 yards. What a stud. First play here. Let me remove this real quick. First play here. It was a block, I recall, just putting this guy on his backside. Maybe the guy was falling a little bit, but that doesn't matter. Jack Larson, man, if he were 2 inches taller, we're talking about a 5-star prospect in my opinion. But him as a split out, like H-back, move tight end, I absolutely love this kid. Hand in the dirt, running a little seam route, catch, easy, tough to bring down player. Jack Larson's having a really phenomenal senior season as well. Here's a little corner route, catches the ball with his hands. Kid's got confidence. Split out at receiver, slant, go down, get the ball with his hands. These next 2 receptions that you can see, all 3 of these catches were all on the same drive late in the game to go down and win. I believe it was tied up 22-22. Breaking tackles here, tough to bring down. You can actually see, hold on. You can see the scoreboard here, 22-22, 2:12 left. And what does Charlotte Catholic do? Throw 85 the football. So he's fired up there. How about this, Kyle? Again, podcast audience, I'm sorry. Watch on YouTube. That's my recommendation. If you don't like me narrating footage, just go watch us on YouTube. How about this team threw big old 55 to just hit Jack Larson at the line, and then they have a corner behind him. Look at what Jack Larson just does. Yep, 55, sorry, I am quicker than you. And then at that point, the corner is too far off. So just quick little slant route, boom, easy. Jack Larson bringing defenders with him. And then this last play here, you got Jack Larson at defensive end, which he would play in pass rushing situations. Tips the ball, and that's picked off for a big play for his defense. So Jack Larson, just a football player, man. The measurables aren't absolutely elite, but just a football player. And that's the Notre Dame tight end commit from Charlotte Catholic. A couple weeks later, I went over to Charlotte Christian to watch another Notre Dame commits. And Kyle, I'll be honest, when we saw him at Irish Invasion, I mean, him and Kane Williams, they didn't do one-on-ones. They just kind of did drill work. He dropped a few passes. I was not overly impressed with Micah Gilbert as a receiver. I was as an athlete. I was like, man, this kid looks the part. But just to be completely honest, and I'm saying this because I would tell Micah if I was talking to him, like, I didn't love him at Irish Invasion. I saw him against Rabun Gap at the end of September. Really good team. Charlotte Christian lost 28-13. Catholic won, by the way, that Jack Larson game. I was so freaking impressed with Micah Gilbert. If you can pull up the stats for me, Kyle, and you can, when I'm done talking about Micah Gilbert, if you can tell me what it was, I think it was 9 receptions. He had a touchdown and went over 100 yards. What a freaking stud Micah Gilbert is, this receiver prospect from Charlotte Christian. Might not be the fastest in the world, which I know Notre Dame fans are like, I only want guys with 4.2 speed from here on out. But I am telling you guys, this kid is Jaden Thomas, but quicker and probably a bit faster. Has a higher ceiling than Jaden Thomas. I loved this kid's game. The smoothness, how he catches the ball super consistently, all with his hands. Charlotte Christian's offense only had success when they threw 14 the ball. He probably had 15 targets on the day. Throwing him these screen passes where he just had, like, when he gets the ball in his hands, he had really good vision, elusiveness, some suddenness, twitchiness, tough kid, really the complete package at the receiver position. Raymond Gabb's defensive game plan was what teams are doing against Notre Dame. Stack the box and throw it deep on us. Or that's all you can do. I don't know why they didn't throw the ball to 14 every single play. Because they had so much success, a lot of screen passes, but every single time he got the ball, it was like big gain. Like sometimes I feel like offense coordinators overthink these things. Like they could throw this screen pass, this specific play only went for a few yards, but like I don't know why I just don't throw the ball to him every single down until they stop it because again, a phenomenal talent. There's even a pass interference on that play there. That was interesting, but even this little curl route goes up, uses his hands to catch the football, right? Not letting it get to his body, which he showed that off all night. Another one of these screen passes. He caught so many of them, but again, throw the ball to 14. They kept working. So, again, guys, tough. Get the ball in his hands, gets yardage, the yak, slant route, boom, nice catch. It's a good performance by Micah Gilbert. Kyle, do you have the stats on that one?
Sure do. 9 catches for 118 yards and a touchdown.
So
pretty good.
Looked really good. I really liked Micah Gilbert. I think that he has number one receiver potential at the next level, but if he's your number 2, you're pretty happy. I'm serious, guys. I'm very excited about Micah Gilbert after seeing him in person. I know it was a lot of underneath stuff like screens, but what do we all call for as Notre Dame fans? Screens. But also, like, you got to understand, he was the size of some of his offensive linemen. Not to throw a straight bullet at his offensive lineman, but like small O-line, like I don't know if they had a whole lot of time to stretch the ball, downfield to him, and quarterback play might not be, the best in the country. So you got to throw a lot of this underneath stuff, and I'm very excited about him. Last but certainly not least is Bryce Young. What a talent Bryce Young is. So these opening clips here, you will see this defensive line coach. You guys see this guy? Yeah, that's Bryant Young. How about Bryce Young's dad, former Notre Dame defensive lineman and NFL Hall of Famer, as his D-line coach? I think that's pretty cool. So Bryce Young, Kyle, if you can have his stats ready to go too. All over the field. The motor was tremendous. Raymond Gapp put him in a lot of read option situations where they're running the ball and not see there all time and time again. They're just leaving him unblocked and making him make a play and kind of figure out what to do. But I thought they kind of stretched the ball towards him. Bryce Young was good in run defense on the night. He probably had close to 10 tackles. He did have to come out in the fourth quarter on one of his tackles. He collided helmets with one of his teammates, but he did play the next week, so there's no concussion. But overall, like, this is a creative player in Madden, kind of like his physics, like what he looks like physically, like he is the prototype. I know Notre Dame feels like he's a 5-star kind of kid. Like the motor's there, the pedigree is there, the size is all there. He did struggle, I would say, in some like pass rushing. Like I don't know how good Raven Gap's offensive tackle was in terms of like if he's a recruit or not, or big time player. But when the offensive tackle engaged with Young, he would struggle to get off blocks. So he's still got to learn the intricacies of pass rushing. But overall, the tools for Bryce Young are fantastic. Notre Dame's getting one heck of a player, and again, he was a top of the board target for the Fighting Irish. So that's Bryce Young from Charlotte Christian. Now, Kyle, you got to see a Notre Dame commit as well. So I will go to you before we wrap it up with Duce Knight. What did you see from Tabor? Actually, do you have the stats for Bryce Young?
Sure do. He finished with 13 tackles, 5 of those being solo stops, pair of tackles for loss, sack, and a quarterback hurry.
So not a bad day at the office. So you got to see Tabor on Benny Powell, Lakota West in the Cincy area, safety commit for the Irish in the 2024 class. Why don't you tell us about him?
Yeah, unfortunately, not the best game to see to Brown Benny Powell. The Lakota West defense was pretty dominant all day long. They held a 3-star quarterback, Jamison Kitna from Lakota East, who's a 2025 recruit, committed to Houston, son of John Kitna, former NFL quarterback. They held him to 0 points in that offense, to 0 points, only 4.5 yards per attempt. And he was 13 of 22. The Lakota West front seven was after him all night long. So didn't really get to see a ton of Tabron Benny Powell do a lot of things in coverage. Wasn't really tested all day. And like I mentioned, the front seven was just incredibly dominant. So Tabron didn't really have to make any tackles either. He only had 1 tackle on the day. But just looking at him, he is just like a complete athlete. He's
Yeah.
really well built, about 190 pounds. He can run well. And I think one of the challenges with him is going to be his safety development, just basically playing it for the second season after he played outside linebacker last year because Ben Minnick, Notre Dame commit, and Malik Hartford, a Notre Dame target that committed to Ohio State, both played safety at Lakota West. So Tabron Benny Powell, he dropped down to safety or like that outside linebacker type position last season. Now in his senior year is playing way more of a true safety type role, and he's starting to bear fruit. Coming into this game, he did have 3 interceptions or 1 interception at each of his last 3 games. Early on in the video, he had the block punt for a touchdown. So he's really starting to settle in. Unfortunately, like I said, didn't really get to see a ton from him in this matchup, but there's just a lot for Notre Dame safeties coach Chris O'Leary and the defensive staff to work with there.
Yeah. I don't know if he's ever going to be like some impact player at Notre Dame. But like he looks like he's going to be a nice piece for the Notre Dame defense. Actually look pretty good. Like again, that like the build is a pretty good, interesting looking prospect. Like I think you can use him in some of your, Aztec, your nickel, like those type of packages. And I think he could be like a really good situational defensive back, which I hope that doesn't sound like a slight on him. Like those guys like are needed in the NFL too. So yeah, I liked what you showed or what you shot on his games past Friday. And then on Friday night, I was in Lucedale, Mississippi. If you guys have heard about a young man named Duce Knights, quarterback commit in the 2025 class for the Fighting Irish. This was my first time getting to meet him. I had an article on Wednesday with him talking about he identified 12 targets that he is after for the Irish in the 25 class. And then I'll have another story today, later this afternoon, where we're going to, I sat down with him for 25 minutes. So there was a lot to discuss. There'll probably be 4 or 5 articles that I have from my time interviewing him and his head coach. So again, really good stuff. And then in terms of the game, I think he was like 7 of 9 with 2 drops. Had, 130-ish yards. I think he accounted for 4 touchdowns. So overall, I mean, it was a pretty dominant win. He didn't have to do a whole lot, to get them to that point, but he did what he had to do. And then just in terms of like the athletic profile, the physical profile, holy crap. Like when I met him, I was like, he's like 6'5", and he's long, and he's like looks absolutely the part. And then his throwing motion, when I talked to his head coach before the game, like and saying, hey, like what does Duce need to work on? He said, well, something we worked on a lot, after a sophomore season was quickening up his release. You guys could see, like, it's a pretty compact, good throwing motion. Like, mechanically, he looks a lot better than I thought he was going to. I kind of thought he's just going to be this raw passer who might be more of an athlete, like that type of thing. Oh, no. Like, he looks like he can stand in the pocket and deliver, throughout the game easily. Still needs to, he's still raw overall, but more polished than I thought he would. Like, look at that pocket movement, even fading to his right a little bit and delivering a strong throw down the field. I think maybe in the short game, some of his like footwork and need some work and not like pushing the ball. Like I think we saw a lot with Tyler Buckner, like just kind of short arming it sometimes. Like I think Duce Knight needs to maybe polish up in that area, but like, dude, just like pushing the ball down the field. He's got the 4.5 speed, just the special talents. Really excited about this commitment for Notre Dame. Obviously, off the field, he's fantastic. On the field, like which one's better? It's kind of a cliche. Is he better off the field than on the field? I would take Duce Knight off the field than the Duce on the field. And he's an absolutely special talent on the field. So, yeah. Kyle, do you like what you see in some of these clips from him?
I love it. Yeah, this is a great pickup for Notre Dame. I was kind of really interested to hear what you said about his release, because that was something I saw right away when you put on the tape, is that it seemed like he had a pretty smooth, snatchy release, and that's something they had to work on. So that's great to see that there was an improvement there. It's kind of funny because I feel like lefty quarterbacks look kind of funny sometimes.
Yeah.
But Duce Knight doesn't. Like he throws like a righty.
That's a really good point. And how about the truck stick here on his touch on? I've always thought about that about lefty quarterbacks, but yeah, it just is very smooth. Oh, and man, the infectious personality with this kid. Oh my God. Like seriously, like you sit down, like just interacting with him via text message and on the phone has been really cool. But like in person, like just a fantastic interview. Very blessed to cover his recruitment. Like seriously, I've really enjoyed that. So yeah, that's the recent road travels. And Kyle, honestly, man, when I was thinking about like the outline for today's show, I was like, man, we're going to hit like an hour and 10 minutes. How about us wrapping up about 10 minutes early? So I think we're going to put it there. So really good stuff today. If you're just joining us and you missed the beginning of the show, we talked about some key Notre Dame USC battles on the recruiting trail of players who are also visiting South Bend this weekend. So make sure you check that article out. Notre Dame offered a new 2026 quarterback in Will Griffin from Tampa Jesuit. We talked about him. Talked about some of these prospects we've seen out on the road, as well as our prize picks that we log. So if you're just joining us, please check that out. Podcast audience, appreciate you. Leave a kind review on Apple or Spotify if you have not done so yet. Folks watching on YouTube, please hit that thumbs up and support what we're doing here at Blue and Gold in that way. Subscribe to our channel if you have not done so yet. And it's time to get over to blueandgold.com, where Kyle and I will be writing some articles this afternoon. So please do check those out. Appreciate you all for watching or listening. And as always, we will catch you guys next time.